How's it going, administrators? Today's video is going to jump on into some gameplay combat with my four favorite teams featuring Rossi. We've got these first two up above my head that are two variations of the same thing featuring Perlica and Gilberta as Rossi's primary enablers, with Tangtang and Antal as the fourth that will be swapping out between them. This third one here is my absolute favorite, featuring Rossi alongside Estella and Alesh, with Wolfguard as their fourth. And this last one is an incredibly cheeky physical team that leverages the fact that the boss we're going to be beating up in the Umbral Monument applies heat to itself, along with all the vulnerabilities that these physical teams bring. Let's go ahead and jump on into the details of talking about the order that these teams are pushing their buttons in and why. If you want to see one of these teams in particular in action to start, there's going to be timestamps in the video description down below. Let's get to it. The key thing to understand about Rossi is that she needs two things in order to trigger her combo skill. The first is that she needs Art's Infliction, and the second is a vulnerability stack. This first team that we're going to look at is the most powerful Rossi team I have found so far, and it achieves the first of these two things by opening on Tangtang's battle skill to apply Cryo, which in turn triggers her combo skill, allowing you to set up her battle skill a second time to apply some Art susceptibility, letting the rest of our operators deal more damage. We then do this final strike with Rossi here, which triggers the Perlica combo skill that's going to go ahead and apply electrification. The electrification from Perlica in turn triggers the combo skill from Gilberta, which is going to take a moment, and then it's going to apply lift to the enemy. Even if it's a larger enemy like this that can't be lifted, we still get that vulnerability stack at the top, which in tandem with the cryo application from Tangtang means that we're going to go ahead and trigger the first part of Rossi's combo skill. The second part of Rossi's combo skill happens organically after a moment. You just got to press your button again here, and that's our opening rotation. We'll go ahead and use Rossi's battle skill to disrupt this first big attack, hitting a massive amount of stagger. The big thing to note with Rossi's battle skill is that that gets an additional second part effect if it's being used on an enemy that has a vulnerability applied to it. So you're going to want to make sure you have those vulnerability stacks on the enemy anytime you're utilizing Rossi's battle still to get the absolute most out of it. At this part in the fight, we are just looking to go ahead and build up our ultimate charge on all three of our characters, as well as building up the stagger meter here. The ultimate goal for this particular encounter is to go ahead and use Tangtang's ult, followed by Gilberta's ult, followed by Rossi's ult while this thing is staggered, to deal an absolutely incredible amount of burst damage all in one go. Something you can keep in mind while you're watching your controlled operators here is, if we take this moment to look, our Tangtang ult is hit and this enemy is almost staggered, but my Gilberta ult is still a little bit short, as is my Rossi. I go ahead and utilize the skill points that I have here at the bottom at this moment to go ahead and have Gilberta call up her battle skill to help her charge her ultimate up, and Rossi's combo skill is going to be triggering momentarily to help her do the same. We'll go ahead and we'll see that nature application start getting put down here. We'll have Tangtang lock this monster in place for a moment before we stagger it, and the jump up here with Rossi to trigger the big wave from Tangtang is going to give us that extra little bit we need to go ahead and get the stuns off. We have the combo skills go, and suddenly we see Gilberta's ult is ready to fire, and once Rossi finishes her combo here, her ult is ready to go as well. With all of the buffs on our characters and debuffs on the enemy, we see this damage build up to an absolutely massive 260,000 damage from a crit burst, absolutely deleting this monster from the game. Our second team is very similar to the first, still utilizing this Rossi, Perlico, Gilberta core, but it's substituting the 6-star operator Tangtang for Antal, a 4-star electric heat support character that adds a ton of damage to both Rossi and Perlica inside of this build. The opening sequences in our fight are very similar to the previous one. We're going to use Antal's battle skill, which applies a focus as well as electric and heat susceptibility here. And then we're going to trigger this final strike on Rossi, which in turn triggers Perlica combo skill into Gilberta combo skill to give us lift. We're then going to use Perlica's battle skill to apply that electricity alongside the vulnerability so Rossi's combo skill can trigger in this 1-2 sequence. Once we get to this point of the fight, we're through our opening rotations when we use Rossi's battle skill to get some extra damage and disrupt this while applying stagger, and we're just trying to make sure we're building up the ultimates on Gilberta, Antal, and Rossi so we can hit them in a big 1-2-3 sequence once this enemy is staggered to stack an absolutely massive amount of damage here all at once. This clear takes these characters about a minute 10, even with me managing to miss a couple of things like Gilberta's lift and getting smacked a couple of times while missing my perfect dodges. This team feels incredibly powerful even when you don't play it with perfect micro. We see things starting to come to a head here as we have almost all three of our bottom alts ready to go, and the stagger bar is over 75% under this character. Something you want to watch out for is you can use your battle skills or trigger the combo skills on various characters to get their ults to charge faster. So Gilberta's a little bit behind the others. We're going to make sure we're using her to get that going. We see this ult from Gilberta happen, which goes ahead and moves her ult ready to go. We're going to run these combo skills from Rossi here, and then our ults are going to start popping out. Gilberta's going to go ahead and go first here, triggering the stagger on this. Antal's going to combo skill, which pushes his ultimate ready to go. We fire that off, and then Rossi's going to go ahead and deal the coup de grace here, taking this character from about 2/3 all the way down to 0 as we build up this absolutely massive 330,000 damage burst. This next team is my favorite Rossi team I've been playing that also happens to be incredibly budget friendly, playing Alesh, Wolfguard, and Estella, two 5-star operators and a 4-star with Rossi as the only 6. It's got a ton of really clean, fun button presses. Let's run through them really quick here. We're going to open the fight on attacking with Rossi as our controlled operator, and Estella's going to go ahead and use her battle skill to apply Cryo. Now, the first sequencing thing we want to note here is that the Cryo Affliction from Estella triggers Wolfguard's combo skill right away, but it's really important that you don't hit that to start. We instead want to then utilize Alesh's battle skill to turn this Cryo Infliction into a solidification. The solidification in turn is going to trigger Estelle's combo skill here, getting rid of the Cryo Infliction and then applying vulnerability. It's important that we hit both of these combo skills in rapid succession here because Wolfguard's has a little bit of a windup, and we specifically need Estella's fast combo skill to shatter the solidification and turn it into a vulnerability before Wolfguard applies the heat infliction from his combo. When this happens, we end up with this vulnerability into heat, which then in turn triggers Rossi's combo skill, which is a 2-parter here like always. So this really clean opening rotation lets us get through basically all of our characters' combo and battle skills, even into that Rossi big battle skill at the end, getting the 2-part effect with the vulnerability applied. Once we move into the next part of this fight, we're just again building up stagger on this enemy, which is actually building up really quickly with all the battle and combo skills that have gone together here. And then something we're going to want to be watching for is when we can apply solidification by utilizing Estella's battle skill in tandem with the fire that's being self-applied here. We see all these combo skills popping off again here, with just a ton of button presses happening along the way, being super fun, especially with Alesh refunding skill points as we go ahead and grind on through. This team doesn't get that single big impressive damage burst like the full combos with Gilberta and Tangtang or Antal, but we get a ton of smaller button presses that all add up into some pretty massive chip shots that are able to take down even some of the strongest endgame monsters in Arknights Endfield right now, such as the Howling Flame here in the Agony Umbral Monument. We go ahead and we see, again, we haven't done that full burst, but all these chip shots are adding up. We're triggering ultimates on all of our characters, and we're going to go ahead and just pretty cleanly grind this monster out with a bunch of tiny chip shots along the way and a ton of really slick button presses. Just go ahead and let our friends here finish him off. This clear, when it's not slowed down, took approximately 70% longer, or closer to about 2 minutes of actual gameplay compared to the minute 5 or minute 15 that we saw on the first two. So a little bit less damage overall, but still plenty impressive and capable of clearing this endgame content, with Rossi being the only 6-star operator in the group. I think that's something that Arknights has done a really good job of. There's so many different ways to build these teams to get through this content, even if you're not someone who's wailing on every single character that the game has to offer. See this final round of bursts and skills here with another round of stagger on that excellent skill timing, letting us finish this dork off in good fashion. And there goes. Our last team I wanted to cover today is kind of a really neat proof of concept utilizing Rossi as your on-field driver in the all-physical team that's made the round in Arknights Endfield. This team tries to abuse the fact that in this particular encounter, our enemy is applying that heat status to itself when it goes into that extra angry mode, which in turn, with all of the vulnerability that's being applied to enable Rossi, allows her combo skill to trigger without having an actual arts inflictor on our team to be able to enable it. Outside of this particular encounter, you could build up Rossi with a lot of ult gain in theory, because her ultimate does apply heat, kind of using her ultimate as a way to self-enable. One big thing that this team has going for it that makes it worth exploring in theory, I think, is the fact that this team's able to apply a ton of vulnerability stacks that Rossi is able to take advantage of, and then Pogranchik is able to turn those into extra skill point refunds on the whole. As far as the clear efficiency in this endgame content, this team actually cleared in a pretty similar time to the Alesh team that we looked at before it, so not bad by any means, but also markedly slower than the Gilberta Perlica teams that we went ahead and opened up on. We can also see this team applies a ton of stagger with those Sword Master sets on all these physical characters, and it's again similar to that Alesh team in that you're not getting that big flashy one-hit burst at the end, but you're instead kind of nickel and diming the boss down over the course of this right around 2-minute fight until it runs out of HP on you. Get all these ultimates to go ahead and close things out here, and it's going to go ahead and go down in just a moment here. Did you figure out a sweet team with Rossi that I didn't cover in today's video? I would love to hear about it in the comments down below so I can give it a try. I would also love to hear thoughts from folks if you like this type of character highlight video. I noticed from the metrics on my previous ones that people really seem to be focused on watching the gameplay focused parts of the character highlights, so I wanted to make a video that did almost entirely that. If you have any thoughts about the weapons or the gear that aren't clear from the information in client, you can leave a comment down below about those as well, and I'd be happy to help you out with it there. As always, I appreciate all the administrators that made it all the way through to the end of the video. If you happen to be new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel for other character guides and other game news updates like this. And if you enjoyed this particular video, make sure to smash the like button on it. We'll catch you next time, gamers, and may your headhunting be profitable.